All right, let's continue. So before we go any further, the answer button object pool is a script that we are just going to provide and paste in. This is the same object pooling that I used for the previous scroll list UI shop session. It's just a little off topic, so I don't want to go through the whole script because I have a lot to cover, but we're just going to provide it as is. It's got comments. If you guys want to grab it right now, you can grab it from the website, from the scroll shop. What did I call it? Scroll list shop with scroll lists session. All right. So I'm just going to create a new script, which is going to be called C# script, which is going to be called simple object pool. Double click it to open it. And I'm just going to straight up paste this in. So for those of you who don't know what object pooling is, it's a way to reuse objects instead of instantiate and destroy. And this basically just allows us to recycle objects and thereby avoid allocations, which would lead to garbage collection while the game is running and potential performance problems. In a game this simple, it's really not necessary, but since, like everything we put into the wild, we assume people are going to go and take it and use it for other stuff, we're just trying to, help you out there with that. So not really the focus of the session, but a helpful little script that you guys can use. And we do have a live training session about object pooling in general that you can check out. And I can link that at the end of the session if you're curious. Okay, so we've got our simple object pool. We're just going to add that to our answer button object pool. And this takes a prefab that it's going to be recycling. And so let's make that prefab now. The prefab that it's going to be recycling is this answer button. So the answer button is going to be the button that we created, and it's going to have a script that is going to allow it to manage itself and to know whether or not the answer that has been clicked on is correct. So we're going to add a mono behavior here called answer button, create and add attached to the answer button game object, double click to open it, and it's a fairly simple class. It's going to be using unityengine.ui. It will have a public text variable called answer text. This is going to store a reference to the button text so that we can use that to display the string for the answer. And then we're actually going to return to this a little later once we get the game controller written to add the final interactive component to have it do something when you click it. But right now we just want to set it up. So we're going to add a public function that returns void called setup. And this is going to take a answer data called data. So when we set this button up, we're going to pass in an answer data, and we're going to, oh, sorry, I missed a variable here. We're going to need a variable to store that in. So we're going to have a private answer data called answer data. And answer data is going to equal the data passed in as an argument. And then we're going to set answer text.text to equal answer data dot answer text, right? From this class here. This string that we set up here is now going to get passed to the button and displayed when we call the setup function. So let's save that and return to Unity. And now we can make a prefab. Let's link up the answer text variable. We'll drag a reference to our text here and drag this into our prefabs folder to make a prefab. And now we can actually delete it from the answer panel because those are going to be added to the panel as children at runtime. Okay, so now we can add that to our object pool, right? That's the prefab that we're going to be recycling. And the reason we need this is basically because every time we have a question, we're going to need some number of answers, 2, 3, 4 answers. And so instead of instantiating and destroying those every time we want to display a new question. We're just going to make them inactive, stick them off screen, and then reactivate them and reset them up as we need them using our object pool. Okay, so that is the answer button and the object pool. The next thing that we're going to do is to start writing our game controller script. And the game controller script is really going to contain the large majority of it's going to contain all of the gameplay logic, and is going to be a fairly sizable script. So let me just take some questions before I start writing that and see how we're doing.